Today, we're going back to absolute zero.
Literally zero, yeah.
We're learning how to count. And I know what you're thinking. I learned how to count when I was 3.
Right. What's there to talk about?
But today's source material, the logic of German numeral 0100 from a German for Absolute Beginners course, well, it proves that assumption wrong. Because if you've ever tried to pick up German, you know that numbers aren't just vocabulary.
No, not at all. They're a logic puzzle.
They really are.
It's a completely different way of processing information.
Yeah.
I think people go into language learning and they expect they just need to swap labels.
Right.
You know, okay, the box says apple, I'll just paste a sticker over it that says apfel. But with German numbers, you aren't just swapping stickers.
So what are you doing?
You're rewiring the circuit board.
That is the mission for this deep dive. We aren't here to just recite a list for you to memorize. That would be incredibly boring.
And pretty useless, honestly.
We want to understand the underlying system, the engineering, really. Because German numbers follow a strict logic, but it's a logic that often runs in the complete opposite direction of what an English speaker expects.
It's deceptively simple at first, and then it hits you with what we like to call the boss fight at the end.
You definitely have to earn your way there.
You do.
Right. So, looking at our roadmap, we're going to mimic the structure of the lesson. We'll start with the foundation, the bricks, as they call them, which are numbers 0 to 12.
The building blocks.
Then we look at the patterns of the teens and the tens. And finally, we tackle that 1 in 20 rule that trips everybody up.
And that last part is so key. If you stick around for anything, it needs to be that section on 21 to 99, because that is where the brain really has to do some gymnastics.
Okay, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with that foundation. The source material is extremely emphatic about these first 12 numbers. It says, essentially, there are no shortcuts here. You must memorize these.
That's exactly right. And it's not just because they're common. It's because every other number, up to 1 million, is constructed using these specific 12 Lego bricks. So if you have a crack in your foundation here, if you're shaky on how to say 7 or 2, the whole structure just falls apart later when you try to say 72.
Let's walk through them then, but instead of just listing them, I want to focus on the gotchas, the pronunciation traps. We start with 0, null.
Which is a gift to English speakers, spelled N-U-L-L, pronounced null. It's a cognate, so it shares the same root as English. Can't really mess that one up.
Okay, easy start. Then we have 1, eins.
Also pretty straightforward. Sounds like the English word I with an NS at the end. Eins.
But then we hit 2, sway. And this is where the source material puts a big red flag in the margin about the letter Z.
This is the first major phonetic hurdle. In English, when we see a Z, we think of a bee buzzing.
Right.
But in German, a Z is sharp. It's almost always pronounced like TS.
The text compares it to a hi-hat cymbal on a drum kit, that TSS sound.
That's a perfect analogy. So you don't say ZVI, you say TSVI. It's kind of explosive. Zwei, if you can master that TS sound, you instantly sound less like a tourist.
Moving on to 3, Dre. Pretty standard. But 4, visually, this one is a trap. It's spelled V-I-E-R. My brain wants to say veer.
Of course it does. But German has other plans. In German, a V at the start of a word is almost always pronounced like a hard F.
So that V-I-E-R becomes veer.
Exactly, veer. It rhymes with fear.
Okay, so zwei is sharp, veer is hard. Then we get to 5, fifth. And we have arrived at the umlaut.
The U umlaut, the 2 little dots over the U. This is a sound that just does not exist in standard English, which makes it so tricky.
The guide suggests a physical trick to get this right. It says to round your lips like you're going to whistle or say, ooh, but then try to pronounce the sound E from the back of your throat.
It feels ridiculous when you do it.
It does.
You feel like you're making a fish face. But that tension in the lips is what creates that specific frequency.
Tough.
If you just say funf, like having fun, a German speaker might not understand you. You need that tightness.
Okay, let's skip ahead slightly to 6, spelled S-E-C-H-S.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
The classic classroom giggle.
It sounds suspiciously like something else.
It does. It's pronounced sex. Sounds like Zex.
But the mechanics are interesting here. The S at the start is soft, like a buzzing Z, but the KS in the middle turns into a hard X or K sound.
Exactly. It's not sex-S. It all compresses down into sex.
7 is Sieben, 8 is Oct. And Oct brings in that guttural sound we kind of associate with German stereotypes.
This K sound. It's coming from the back of your throat, almost like you're clearing it. Oct. It's not a clean key T sound like in the word act. It's raspy.
9 is Noon. The note here says EU equals OY.
Yep, like a toy. So, neun.
Right. 9. And 10 is Zen, which brings back our friend the sharp Z.
Zen.
So we've hit 10. In a purely logical system, we'd jump straight to patterns now. We'd say 1-teen or 2-teen.
But languages are messy history books, not spreadsheets.
So true. And we have 2 leftovers from an older counting system, 11 and 12.
These are unique words. You just have to know them. 11 is elf.
Which I love. It sounds like a fantasy creature. Look, there's an elf. It's the easiest mnemonic in the book.
It sticks in your memory instantly.
Oh, no.
Then we get to the final boss of the beginner level, number 12, zwolf.
Just looking at the spelling is intimidating. Z-W-O-L-F. You got the sharp Z, the W acting like a V, the O umlaut, and then that LF cluster.
It is a linguistic obstacle course.
It really is.
You have to combine everything we just talked about. You start with the TSV, then you have to slide into the rounded of the O umlaut, and then land on the LF, zwolf.
The source actually says if you can pronounce Dwolf correctly, you can pronounce almost anything in German.
It's the litmus test. It really is. It forces your mouth to make shapes that English just doesn't require.
So that's the foundation, 0 to 12. The source says once these are locked in, the rote memorization stops and the engineering begins. We move into the teens, 13 through 19.
This is where you can relax a little bit. If you know your numbers 3 through 9 and you know the word for 10, which is Zahlen, you can build the teens. It's just simple addition.
Literally. The formula is unit plus 10, so 310.
13.
410.
vierundzwanzig.
510.
vierundzwanzig. It's actually more regular than English in a way. In English, 3 becomes 13, 5 becomes 15. We morph the sounds.
We do.
German usually doesn't. Dry just stays dry.
Usually. But the expert notes highlight some specific traps. The source calls them the droppers.
Ah, yes, the droppers.
Yeah.
This is a crucial insight for sounding natural. German is often stereotyped as, a harsh language, but it actually cares a lot about flow, about euphony.
How things sound.
Yeah. And sometimes when you mash 2 words together, the collision of consonants is just too clunky. So the language smooths it out by dropping a letter.
And the specific examples here are 16 and 17.
Right. So look at 16. Logically, it should be sex, 6, plus sane, sexane.
Yeah.
But try saying that. Sexane. You have a S fighting with a Z.
It's a hissing mess. It's a mouthful.
It is. So the logic dictates.
Huh?
Drop the S from sex. It becomes zexane. It just flows so much better.
It ends, okay. And for 17.
Same principle. Sieben, 7 ends with N. If you add Zane, you get Siebensane. It's a bit of a stutter.
Yeah, a little clunky.
So they drop the whole N ending. It becomes just Siebsane.
That's a really helpful rule of thumb. If it feels like you're stumbling over extra consonants, you probably need to drop something. So 16 is Zexane, 17 is Siebsane. Otherwise, the teens are safe.
18 and 19 are perfectly regular. 18, 19. If you just watch out for those 2 droppers, you've mastered this section.
All right, let's scale up. We're moving to the tens, 20, 30, 40, and so on. In English, we signal this with the suffix venity. German has a suffix too.
The German suffix is zig, Z-I-G.
But wait, I'm looking at the pronunciation guide here, and it's highlighting something that confuses a lot of beginners. In standard German, that sig ending doesn't sound like zig.
This is a fascinating nuance. If you read it phonetically, you'd say Zwanzig. And in some southern dialects, you might hear that. But in standard High German, the German you learn in school, and here on the news, that final G softens into an ich.
So it's not Swansea, it's Swansea.
Precisely, it's Zwanzig. It's softer, airier.
That's a pro tip. So the pattern is generally take the number, add zik.
Yeah.
But of course, there are irregularities.
Oh, of course, that would be too easy.
We can't just slap zig on everything.
No. Let's look at 20. Just like in English, we don't say 2T, German changes zwei to zwan. So it's Zwanzig.
And then 30. The source calls 30 the rebel.
30 is the outlier of the group. Every other 10, 40, 50, 60 is spelled with that Z, Z-I-G. But 30 is spelled with the eset, that character that looks like a fancy capital B.
We should clarify that. The eset is just a sharp S, right?
Correct. It's just a double S sound.
Right.
So while 20 is Zwanzig with a Z, 30 is Dreisig. It has a sharper, hissier sound in the middle. It is the only one that doesn't use the Z.
Why is that? Any reason?
It's largely historical, tracing back to how the sounds evolved differently from High German. But for you, the learner, you just need to flag it. 30 is the rebel.
Got it. And for the rest, 40, 50, 80, 90, it looks like standard edition. vierzig, fünfzig, achtzig, neunzig.
Yes. But remember our droppers from the teens?
Uh-oh.
They make a comeback.
Ah, right. So 60 isn't sexig.
Nope. Drop the S sexig.
And 70 isn't siebenzig.
Drop the N siebzig. It's inconsistency. Once you know 6 and 7 are the troublemakers in the teens, you can predict they'll be the troublemakers in the tens.
And just to cap off the list, we hit 100, which is 100 or just 100.
Which is nice and recognizable. Very recognizable.
Okay. So far, so good. We have the foundation, we have the teens, we have the tens. I feel like I could confidently count to 20 or say 50. But here is where we hit the wall. The source calls this the most important part of the lesson.
This is the boss fight.
It is.
The backwards rule. Or, more properly, the inversion.
This is the logic swap that just melts English speakers' brains. In English, if I see the number 21, I say 21. Big number first, small number second.
Which logically mirrors how we write it, right? We write a 2, then a 1. We say 20, then 1. It's linear, left to right.
But German flips it.
Completely. In German, you say the unit first, then the word and then the 10. So 21 isn't 21. It is literally 1 in 20.
1 in 20. It sounds so Shakespearean. 4 in 20 blackbirds baked in a pie.
That is exactly what it is. English actually used to do this. If you read old texts, this was common. German just, well, never stopped doing it. So the formula is unit plus un plus 10.
So let's break down 21. We have eins for 1, un for and, 20 for 20. So you just mash it all together.
And there's one tiny detail to catch here to be perfect. When eins is part of this compound number, it loses its s. So it's not 21, it flows together. 21.
21, one giant word.
One giant word. German loves compound words. It treats the number as a single entity.
Let's try a few others from the source to make sure we've got this rewiring down. How about 32?
Okay, apply the logic. Don't look at the 3, look at the 2. Unit first.
Sorry.
Then und. Then 30. 30. So you put it together.
32.
There you go. 2 and 30.
Okay. What about 45?
5 comes first. 45. 4. 45.
This is really tricky for the listener, isn't it? Because if someone is dictating a phone number to me in German...
Oh, it's a nightmare for beginners. An absolute nightmare.
Right. I hear fun, and my hand instinctively wants to write the number 5. But I have to freeze. I have to wait to hear the rest of the word. Is it 50 or is it 5 and 40?
That is the cognitive load challenge. You have to hold that first digit in your working memory. Just suspend it in midair until you hear the second part. Then you have to mentally flip them to write it down as digits 4 or 5.
It's a completely different type of active listening than English. It's almost like you have to listen backwards.
You do. You can't process the number linearly. You have to capture the whole packet of information before you can visualize the value.
Let's do a big one to test this. 99.
The ultimate test. So 9 and 90.
90.
Matched all together.
99.
It actually has a great rhythm to it. It sounds like a drum beat.
It does. Once you get into the flow, it can feel very poetic, almost rhythmic.
Yeah.
But it definitely takes practice to stop your brain from screaming 99.
So, practically speaking, when does a beginner actually use this? The source gives us a very common scenario, asking for age.
Right, because this is usually the first time you're forced to use a number between 20 and 100 in a real sentence.
The question is straightforward. Wie alt bist du? How old are you? And the answer template is, Ich bin number Jahre alt. I am number years old.
So let's role play this. I'll be the learner. Let's say let's use the example in the text so I don't age myself. Let's say I'm 25.
Okay, remember the flip. 5 and 20.
Ich bin 25 Jahre alt.
Perfect. You've just successfully navigated German number logic. And notice how saying 25 feels different than saying 25. It feels a bit more constructed.
It feels satisfying when it clicks. It feels like solving a little math problem before you even speak.
That's a great way to put it. And that's what I love about this source material. It presents counting not as a vocabulary list, but as a system. If you just try to memorize the word for 32 and then the word for 33 separately, you'd be exhausted.
You would.
But once you know that unit plus un plus 10 formula, you can say any number up to 99 instantly.
Speaking of math problems, before we wrap up, the source actually includes a little homework assignment. An action step.
I love this. It's a literal math challenge.
The challenge is, do a simple math problem, but write the answer in German. The example they give is 10 plus 5.
Okay, so 10 plus 5 is 15. In English, 15. In German, you start with the unit 5, add the 10 saying 15.
There you go. So you, the listener, can try that with any numbers. What's 20 plus 2?
Okay, math first. 22. German logic. 2 and 20. 22.
It's a great way to force your brain to switch gears. You can't just autopilot the translation.
Absolutely. It forces that rewiring we talked about at the start.
So let's recap the main takeaways from this deep dive. If our listener walks away with just 3 things, what should they be?
First, the foundation. You simply must memorize 0 through 12. Pay special attention to the pronunciation of zwei with that sharp TS sound, wir, the F sound, and of course the tricky 12.
Second, the patterns. For the teens, add seen. For the tens, add zvig, but pronounce it ik.
Yes.
And watch out for the droppers, 16, 17, 60, and 70. They drop letters to make the word flow smoother.
And finally, the boss rule. From 21 to 99, you have to flip it. Unit first, then 10, 1 and 20, zweiundvierzig.
It's a workout for the brain, but a good one.
You know, this brings up a thought I've been mulling over. We often talk about how language shapes thought, the Horphian hypothesis.
Right.
If you grow up speaking a language where you have to say the unit before the 10, literally prioritizing the detailed digit before the broad category, does that change how you process mental math?
That is fascinating. Like, are German speakers slightly faster at addition because the language structures the numbers that way? Or does it make it harder because the spoken order conflicts with the written order?
Exactly. Think about it. When you hear 5 and 40, you're hearing the numbers in the order you'd add them if you were doing it on paper, with the ones column first.
Whoa!
English speakers hear 45, which is the opposite of the addition algorithm we all learned.
That is a deep thought to leave us with. Does the backwards rule actually make more mathematical sense than the English way? We'll let you ponder that one.
Viel Glück with your counting.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into German logic. We'll catch you on the next one.